compliance, where today the IRS's audit rate is like literally 0%. So they hired a bunch of people who have expertise in these areas. And what they also did is they promoted people. They moved people into new roles. And because they're relatively new in these new roles, they're probationary employees. About 7,000 of these people have already been let go from the agency, and there have been plans for reductions in force that would total like 50% across the board, which would bring the IRS to levels it hasn't been at since the 1960s, when the population was 60 million people fewer. You've seen a very significant exodus from the IRS of senior level leaderships, but really across the board. And about 22,000 employees have already taken the deferred resignation plan that's been offered, which means that by the end of this year, even without any additional reductions in force, you're going to have an IRS that's 30% smaller than it was at the beginning of this year.
I think we will come to judge when we observe the consequences of tens of thousands of IRS enforcement personnel being let go, and it being done in a way where because of the incentive scheme, the most competent people, the people who can get the best jobs elsewhere, are the ones who are most likely to leave. I think we are threatening the basis of our tax system, which is based on voluntary compliance.
So is there any way of calculating how much this will cost us, at least in lost revenues that we otherwise would have had?
My colleagues and I at the Yale Budget Lab have concluded that just the workforce reductions that have been planned thus far are likely to cost the IRS somewhere between $400 billion and $2.4 trillion over the course of this next decade. That's like a very large range. And so what is driving that? Well, the dollars that are going to be lost aren't just direct dollars, like you do fewer audits, and as a result of that, you collect less taxes. Certainly that's going to happen. And great work by Nathan Hendren and Ben Sprung-Kaiser and their co-authors says every $1 spent on high-end enforcement by the IRS generates 12. So incredibly high ROI work that we're not going to be able to do. But you're not just losing direct dollars. If there are traffic cameras on the road, people drive the speed limit more often than not. And the same is true with the tax system. If there is an infrastructure in place and people know that the IRS sits ready to pursue noncompliance, they're more likely to play by the rules. People are going to adjust their behavior and not play by the rules as often, and also take tax positions that are really quite questionable.
If President Trump really wants to make progress on that deficit, it looks like cutting costs at the IRS may be the last place to look, not only for the taxes we won't collect, but also for the signal it sends to those who didn't want to pay the taxes they owed in the first place.
I do believe you're going to see aggressive tax planning. I think you're going to see tax professionals who prepare returns are telling me people are coming in saying, well, why do I need to file the return?
Or have been found. We have a president who's completely delegitimizing government and who's taking away the capacity of the IRS to process tax returns, to audit when that's necessary. I think we'll see many more people take cash payments and not report them. Many more people engage in dubious transactions with their cronies to misvalue assets and avoid paying taxes. Many more people engage in abusive tax shelters. That's an area the president, I think, has some awareness of from his past business dealings. And when all of that happens, the people who are going to pay are honest taxpayers. I'm working on this pretty carefully right now with some colleagues. I'd be surprised if we're not on a path to sacrificing more than $1 trillion of revenue over the next decade because of this misguided, wanton attack on the IRS. And that's going to make our fiscal problem worse, or it's going to force us into other kinds of damaging tax increases. It would be much better to do a better job of collecting the taxes that are levied under current law. It would be better not to be driving the economy from above ground to underground in terms of American competitiveness. So I don't think we've seen large consequences yet from all of this, but the risks are very big.